Did you know God will not increase what you cannot handle? Most Christians pray for more money, more income, more opportunity, but few ever ask a harder question. God, am I even faithful with what I already have? Here's the truth the church rarely preaches. In Luke 16:10, Jesus said, "Whoever is faithful in little will be faithful in much." That means your bank account right now, however small, is a test, and how you handle it decides whether heaven trusts you with more. Stay with me until the end, because the final principle in this video is the one most believers never discover, and it could be the exact reason your finances have felt stuck. Millions of Christians are drowning today. Credit card debt, rising grocery bills, rent that eats half a paycheck, fear about the future. Many pray for a breakthrough, but nothing changes. Why? Because we've been chasing more money instead of building godly character with the money we already hold. The good news is God's word is not silent on finances. It's actually one of the most practical books ever written on money, work, saving, and generosity. Jesus talked about money more than he talked about heaven or hell. So today, we're uncovering biblical principles that will transform how you see every dollar in your hand. Let's begin. Psalm 24:1 tells us the earth and everything in it belongs to the Lord. That includes your paycheck. You're not an owner, you're a manager. When Joseph managed Potiphar's house in Genesis 39, he treated another man's wealth with total integrity, and God blessed him for it. Before spending, ask yourself, would I handle this the same way if I remembered it's God's money? A faithful steward gets trusted with greater things. Luke 16:10. Again. Faithful in little, faithful in much. Many people say I'll start budgeting when I make more, but that's backwards. God tests your discipline with $50 before he trusts you with $50,000. Track every dollar this week, not to punish yourself, but to build faithfulness. Small obedience unlocks big blessing. Proverbs 22:7 warns that the borrower is servant to the lender. But that's not all. Debt isn't just financial. It's spiritual bondage. It steals your peace and your freedom to give. Nehemiah confronted the wealthy of Israel in Nehemiah chapter 5 because they were enslaving their own people through debt. He restored justice by canceling unfair loans. List every debt you carry. Attack the smallest one first. Momentum builds faith. Freedom from debt is freedom to obey God fully. Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord." Boaz wasn't lazy, waiting for blessing to fall from the sky. He worked his fields with excellence, and that excellence positioned him for Ruth, for legacy, for greatness. Here's what most Christians miss. Your job isn't separate from your faith. It's an altar. God honors excellence before he releases increase. Proverbs 21:20 says, "The wise store up choice food and oil, but the fool devours all he has." Joseph didn't just interpret Pharaoh's dream. He built a saving system that preserved an entire nation through 7 years of famine. Start an emergency fund, even if it's just $10 a week. Small seeds grow. Saving isn't fear. It's wisdom, preparing for tomorrow. Malachi. 3:10 invites us to test God through giving, to see if he won't open the windows of heaven. The widow in Mark chapter 12 gave 2 small coins, everything she had. Jesus said she gave more than anyone, not an amount, in faith. What happened next changes everything. Generosity isn't what leaves you empty. It's what invites God's abundance in. You can't outgive God. 1 Timothy 6:6 says, "Godliness with contentment is great gain." Solomon had everything. Gold palaces power. Yet in Ecclesiastes he confessed it was meaningless without God at the center. If this message is blessing you right now, go ahead and subscribe to Biblical Finances. We're building a community of believers, pursuing real financial peace. Peace doesn't come from having more. It comes from wanting less than everything. The next principle is even more powerful, so don't go anywhere. Proverbs 21:5 says, "The plans of the diligent lead to profit." Abraham didn't wander aimlessly. God gave him a promise, and Abraham built toward it with patience and strategy across decades. Write down one financial goal for the next 90 days. Purpose turns dreams into decisions. God blesses direction, not just intention. Deuteronomy 8:18 reminds us God gives the power to gain wealth to establish his covenant. The Proverbs 31 woman wasn't just wealthy. She used her wealth to clothe the poor, strengthen her household, and extend her hands to those in need. Here's the final lesson, the one most Christians never hear preached. God doesn't bless you to stop at you. He blesses you so his kingdom moves forward through you. Money without purpose becomes empty. But money, surrendered to God, becomes a tool for eternal impact. True wealth is measured by what it builds for God's kingdom, not just your bank account. Comment below which principles spoke to you the most today. And if someone in your life is struggling financially, tag them. This message might be the answer to their prayer. Let's remember what we've uncovered today. You are a steward, not an owner. Faithfulness in small things unlocks greater blessing. Debt is bondage, but freedom is available. Work is worship. Saving is wisdom. Generosity opens heaven's storehouse. Contentment brings peace. Purposeful planning brings direction. And true wealth always points back to God's kingdom. God isn't waiting to bless you because he's withholding love. He's waiting because he's building your character first. So starting today, be faithful with what's in your hand. Budget it, save it, give it, steward it like it belongs to him, because it does. If this video blessed you, subscribe to Biblical Finances, turn on notifications, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. True prosperity was never about the size of your bank account. It's about the size of your obedience. Be faithful with the little, and watch God trust you with much.